potter from Detroit. Here's one of my cups. Here's another cup. They're all thrown in my potter's wheel, made from porcelain. Here's a little kitty bowl, all porcelain. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a cylinder that ultimately turns into a cup on the potter's wheel. So, first thing, we're going to quit looking at me and we're going to look down at the wheel and we're going to watch my hands. So, what I've done is I've taken the clay that originally looked like this and I wedged it up into a nice ball because I wouldn't want to take that mess and try to center it on my potter's wheel. So when we wedge clay, we're actually taking the air out of the clay, which is the opposite of kneading. When we knead bread, we're actually putting air in so the bread will rise. When we wedge clay, we take the air out so we have no air bubbles in our final object. Nice, smooth, thin walls. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ball already down there. I have my water right here. Can you see? And I like warm water, and I just added a little bit of bleach to this water because I had a little bit of mold growing. But we don't care about mold in the potter's world. Mold is good. It means we have nice active clay. So I'm going to turn this on. And we're not going to do this. This is what you usually see when you see potters on TV. That's not correct. What we are going to do is we're going to put this elbow right into this part of our body. We're going to keep this arm straight, and I'm going to use this part inside of my hand. I'm going to come down against here, so I'm all crunched over. If you could see me all together, see, I'm all crunched over, and I'm going to put this hand on top. So both of these hands are touching one another, and they're working together. I'm going to add some water. I'm going to spin my wheel first. Hand's going to press down. Up. And in. Notice my fingers are not doing any of the work. But notice how my muscles are engaged. My whole body is pushing this clay to the center of the wheel. So I'm pushing it up and then down using the fatty part of my hand right here. So what I've done is I've centered the clay on the wheel. Once the clay is centered, and I'm going to extra center this just because there's a couple air bubbles in there and you can feel it as it goes around because this is recycled clay. I showed you what it looked like ahead of time. So there might be some bumps and bruises in it. So now, once I have it like this, it's centered, and we know it's centered because all these little rings are even all the way around my little pancake in the middle. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do, again, I'm going to have my arm straight right here, and I'm going to open it. This is called creating the donut. So I'm going to push my finger down, not all the way to the bottom, because if we went all the way to the bottom, then we would have what? We'd have a drainage pot, not a cup. So once I think I have it all the way down, see how I have my little hole? I'm going to stop and I'm going to use my pin tool. And I'm going to measure to make sure that I have enough room on the bottom to create a foot. So what do I mean by a foot? This right here on a finished cup is a foot. Okay, so I want to have enough room so I can carve this foot in the end and put my signature on there, which is hugs and kisses. So now that I've measured this and I know that I have about that much left on the bottom, so I have plenty of room to carve a foot afterwards. Now what we're going to do is what we call opening up. So I'm going to take that hole that I already started and I'm going to, both hands are touching one another, but my right hand is going to pull that clay towards the inside of my left hand. So this is called opening up my vessel or my cylinder. And I want to make sure that this is nice and solid. Now the inside of this cylinder is what determines the size of your cup, not this part, the inside. So I'm going to open up this a little more because I want a nice open cup. I'm going to make sure the bottom is perfect, so I'm going to really, really compress that clay. Notice that I don't use a lot of water when I'm working. This is all pretty dry. And that's one of the things that when you learn how to throw in a potter's wheel, you don't start with porcelain because you need a lot of water. Water is your lubricant. And porcelain, you cannot use a lot of water when you're throwing with it. Okay, so now that I have the bottom where I want it, so that's going to be the bottom of my cup. I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to do what we call compressing. So again, this hand is securely held into place by the muscles of my back, my tummy, and my thigh. And I'm going to pinch these two sides and then come down with this hand on top. And what that's doing is that's compressing the sides. So that's going to help me to maintain a nice, easy, thin, even thickness of my walls of my cup. So now what I'm going to do is what we call our first pull. So again, my elbow is in place, my hand is straight. I'm going to take this and I'm going to squeeze this ends between both my fingers and come up. Just a little bit at a time. Then I'm compressing again. I'm going to go a little faster to create a little bit more force. The slower the wheel goes, the bigger the object. The smaller the object, the faster the wheel goes. Just something to keep in mind. So now I'm going to do another pull. And I'm going to come up. And I'm coming up in the shape of a volcano. The reason I'm doing that is because, and I'm forcing it to do that, is because centrifugal force automatically wants the clay to go out like a trumpet. So if I start by doing this, I can get as much height as possible. I'm not forming the size of my cup or anything else. I'm just creating the height. And of course, as I pulled that up, it came up a little bit uneven. We're not going to worry about that right now. We're just concentrating on this wall. So I'm using even pressure, and if you'll notice, my thumb on my right hand is on my thumb, is touching the thumb on my left hand, and they are all working together. There is none of this. Okay, I screwed this up. I'm going to start all over. Okay, well, how do I do that?
Start and stop. You start it